Hi everyone, my name is Ruby Powers and I'm with Powers Law Group, and today we're going to talk about the world of investment with the E-2 visa. So I am a board certified immigration attorney and the law firm is 14 years old. We are located in the heights of Houston, Texas, but we have a global reach because U.S. immigration is federal. And so we help individuals all over the world on U.S. immigration matters, from individuals and business owners, investors, to family-based humanitarian immigration court, asylum, you name it. We are in immigration, we can help you. So I also wrote a book about law practice management, and I'm a professor of law practice management and small business. So I wanted to talk about the E-2. So there are three different types of E's. There's E1, 2, and 3. We're going to talk about 2. No, E-2, and E1 can be a little bit on the same genre because it's based off of treaty and it's to conduct substantial trade in goods. But the E-2 is the one we're going to talk about, investing a substantial amount of money in direct operations of an enterprise, or they have invested in or actively investing in. And E3, which is sort of funny, but that's also based on a treaty with Australia, is to have a specialty occupation worker. And so we're not going to talk about that. But here we are. Here are the list of E2 countries. So there's a lot of them. You can notice that there's Pakistan, but there's no India. There's Mexico, but there's no Venezuela. There's a lot of other countries here, and sometimes those countries have also been a great place as a third country national to go to help process an E2. Lots of things got a little bit thrown off with the pandemic, and so it's always good to check in with your attorney and make sure that they've done a case from that country recently or are familiar with the consulates, U.S. consulates in their country. But anyway, there's quite a lot of countries here. And the other thing to note is that you either are a citizen or national of one of these countries, or it could even be like you could work with it, like if your spouse is a citizen of that. Or we also could have employees that have the same nationality of the business. So there's lots of ways to work this. The E2 treaty investors, things to consider. So the countries that have a treaty with the United States, it allows that E2 non-immigrant classification, allows the national of that treaty country to be admitted to the US when investing a substantial amount of capital in the business. And you're like, what is that substantial amount? Well, it's all proportional to the type of business that it is. And so the other thing is certain employees of a person or of a qualifying organization may also be eligible, like we mentioned. So who can file? So just things to consider. If you're currently in the US in a non-immigrant status, you can file the I-120 here in the US. And things that you must do are you need to make sure that you are national of a country that has that it's part of a treaty for the E2. You also have invested or be actively invested in the process of investing a substantial amount of capital. So you need to document that investment or the prior investment or current investment, and be seeking to enter solely to develop that direct investment enterprise. You also have to demonstrate that you're planning on returning and that you don't have immigrant intent. So other general qualifications. So we're talking about you have to place that capital, funds, and assets at risk. So it can't be like you just put some money in and you apply and then hopefully if you get it, great. If you don't, then you get your money back. No, it has to be at risk. The capital must be subject to partial or total loss if the investment fails. So a lot of business ownership, a lot of entrepreneurs know there is a lot of risk involved, but great reward. The treaty investor must show that the funds have not been obtained directly or indirectly from criminal activity. So this is another thing to note. You can actually have what do you call a gift of the funds. You also could, but you would need to show where that money those funds came from in the past. You also could have those funds from yourself, but you need to make sure that you have what we call a paper trail of where those funds come from. So substantial amount. Lots of people say, how much do I have to invest? And we're like, well, There isn't a number. There isn't a number that's actually written out anywhere, but there are some posts really like a certain number. Our lowest investment we'd had was around 40,000. That was a handful of years ago. So with inflation, it's a bit more. But it really is proportional. So the way to think about it is substantial in relationship to the total cost of either purchasing an established business or establishing a new one, sufficient to ensure that that investor's financial commitment to the successful operation. So what that means is enough money to be able to invest in it, but also have funds to live off of if they don't make a lot of money initially, of a magnitude to support the likelihood the trader investor will successfully develop and direct the enterprise. The lower the cost, the higher proportionally the investment must be to be considered substantial. So you have to be able to the bona fide enterprise refers to a real active operating commercial entrepreneurial undertaking which produces services or goods for profit, and it must meet applicable legal requirements for doing business. So that also could mean like if you need certain licenses for that business, like a childcare or a chiropractic or a medical or a law firm, to be able to demonstrate that you meet those qualifications. So generally what's needed to file, this is just a very general type of a list, like a detailed job description for the intending immigrant, a resume, CV, educational professional achievements, as well as identification documents showing that you've always stayed in status, valid passport, ideally with enough time validity so for the future, and previous immigration approvals or be able to establish your immigration history. So the U.S. and foreign company could demonstrate that where the funds came from, the company formation, business registration, certificate of incorporation, lease, photos of the business, tax returns. Those are a lot of the good things you need to be able to show. So how do we file? So how do you file? Well, if you are in the United States, you would use an I-129, and the form plus the filing fee and all the supporting documentation. So what you would want to do is file a change of status from whatever status you may be on, maybe a B2 potentially, to an E2, and you could file that I-129 plus a premium processing. We usually suggest to get a decision within a few weeks. And you would want to be able to demonstrate all of the evidence that you can of what we talked about the requirements were. And then upon the approval, so once you file it, you either could get a approval, a request for evidence, and denial. Usually it's approval, request for evidence, unless it's egregiously something to be denied, but we really want to make sure we focus on not having that. And then once you respond and it gets approved, then you can start working in that capacity. And spouses can also have work authorization upon having the E-2 approved as well. Children under 21 can also have the E-2. So the period of stay, it really depends on the reciprocity with that country. It could be, usually it's around maybe 2 years. But with certain country nationalities, and we'll talk about that, about consular processing, you could have up to 5 years. For example, Mexico just recently upped their E-2 validity to 5 years. So now there's not a limit to how many extensions you can do, and you just need to maintain the intention of returning and having non-immigrant intent. So you can continue to extend it, and sometimes people do find another way to stay in the United States. But it is a great opportunity to have a business, have a spouse work, and have children under 21 live here. And so it's an option. So with the family, though, what do you do with the family? Well, they also can be here in the United States. And so spouse, as we said, can have work authorization on as based off of an E-2. And then children under 21 can stay here in the country. Now, if you're going to do consular processing, then you would file it with the consulate and do the DS-160, submit the packet, and then you would be able to have an appointment, and there you would be able to have a discussion about that visa. So If you're outside of the country, then you're going to be dealing with the Department of State. And there you would want to submit the DS-160, like I said. You'd just get an appointment, then you'd find out how you'd be able to submit the more evidence about that E-2. And then every country has their own specific rules of how big the packet can be and how many pages and the PDF and this, or you bring a binder. It's sort of crazy. And so and then sometimes there's only a few consulates within the country that will have E-2 appointments, etc. So it is important to have that specific knowledge. So, and based on that, whether you're doing the consular processing or change of status, your validity period can vary, but basically a rule of thumb is the reciprocity. And like we said, children under 21, spouses allowed to be on the E-2. So that was just a small taste of the E-2. We've helped individuals from having a dog care place to children care to accounting to, let's see, all different types of businesses, restaurants. So we had a food truck. I mean, I really, as a business owner, as a professor on law practice management and small business, as a author about small business, I really love helping businesses. And we have clients, we have staff who can speak Turkish. I speak Spanish. We can help individuals from all over the world. And so it's a great opportunity to help commerce and help opportunity open doors for our clients and in the United States to help create more opportunity. So this is our session on E-2s, which we have in English and Spanish. We also are talking about celebrating how your child turning 21 could potentially unlock new horizons with a green card. We're also talking about redefining lesser known immigration options, as well as understanding work authorization and asylum clock, and then non-immigrant employment-based visas. So here at Powers Law Group, we have a handful of attorneys. We even have others not shown here, and we're able to help our clients along their journey with immigration. So you can give us a call, 713-589-2085. Find out how to reach out to us on all the social media. We give out a newsletter in English and Spanish and Turkish every other week. So we're at rubypowerslaw.com, and thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.